Okay, I think it's working. There we go. Whew. Okay, so I already did this once and then it didn't work. And then I was sitting here like, like angry. And then I'm like, well, how much do I show my anger? And it's like all related to all this stuff. So then I was like, all right, screw it. I'm just gonna go ahead and go live again. Okay, so a little bit of a less calm version of me than you would have gotten before when that I thought I was going live, but I didn't press the button because this is my first time doing this. Okay, so whew. But it is relevant. It's relevant. Everything's relevant. Okay, so hi, welcome. So this live is about solitude versus community, which isn't necessarily they're not verses, that was like a trick title, because I thought it was intriguing. But I think as writers and just as people, there is an equal importance to both solitude and community. Um, because, in solitude, we can be ourselves. No filter, like, oh, you're angry that the Facebook didn't record. Like, you can grumble, blah, blah, blah. Still example, but it's at the top of my head. But in community, we can connect to others and we can feel like we're part of something bigger and we can feel heard and seen and acknowledged and we can like move on from stuff, There's intimacy. And I think that solitude, like the essence of true solitude, there is an intimacy with the self. There is an acknowledgement and a listening to the self. So both are equally important. And I do think that from the context of writing, it's really helpful to understand this balance. So I'm going to try to deconstruct that idea. So first of all, question is, what is it that we're seeking in writing? What is it we're seeking in reaching inside, in reaching outward? What are we trying to do in connecting with ourselves and the world? What are we looking for? And I think personally as a writer, I write in order to listen to myself and to listen to the world to see what messages it has for me. And I write to be listened to by myself, if that makes sense. Like listening to myself and have myself listen back to me. It's like this mirror. And and then with the world, like if we're sharing it, if we feel like the world is listening to us, it makes us feel connected. We want to feel like we're a part of it, like we're a part of this greater thing, meaning we share an origin. We belong here. We all came from the same place. Same time, I think we're looking for meaning. And of course, thing with meaning is it changes according to whoever is looking at something, when they're looking at it, who they're looking at it with, what time of day is it, and so on. To clarify this a little bit further, I looked up the etymology of the word meaning. And that's a bit meta because etymology is the meaning of words throughout history and how they change. So the meaning of the word meaning come down to these main four things: significance, remembering, intention, and sensing. So first one, significance. Pretty easy. If something has significance, it means something. And the word signify breaks down into like a sign, a declaration, a mark to show something. So this is the connection to language as a set of marks that can mean or show something. Um, so that's a lovely reason to do it. The second thing was remembering. And I guess I just want to point out how our bodies keep memories inside of them, in the nervous system, in the brain, which are connected. Um, so it's pulling the body into it, which sort of flows into these two last definitions of meaning of both intention and sensing. So our bodies sense words. It's called the diffuse quality of words. It means that when we hear them, it creates an inner energy or an inner tension in our bodies. It's not a bad thing. It's just energy. It's a shift that we feel. So like if you've ever heard that phrase, something's that you read something and it tugs at your heartstrings, right? And we can actually feel things we read or write inside of our bodies. That's just true. So there's a materiality or a sensation to writing, a transference between our body and the world, a sensing. Maybe, yeah, like a transference of intention, really. So let's go back to solitude and community. Solitude means alone. Yeah. It can also mean wilderness, and it comes from the root soul, S-O-L, which tracks back to the sun. And that word also tracks back to meaning whole, well-kept, uninjured, intact, and healthy, so whole. In my opinion, as writers especially, solitude is holy, if you will. It is a return to the self, the wild self, the wilderness of the self, and it's not constrained by any definitions of anything that's ever needed to exist before or ever needs to exist again. It's the self, and it's the hardest thing to embrace because it's so unique to us that sometimes we do not see it anywhere else, and it makes us feel like maybe we're not real, right? We have to actually have this faith that we exist. So as writers, solitude is so important. We need to trust that our self is real. We need to develop an intimacy with that singularity, oneness that no one else has, that is our soul, that is our self. What is the self? It has no choice but to return to that same self. That's all it means. Like, there's nothing we can do about what the essence is. And it's sameness returning. It's the eternal return, basically, as I think about it. So you've got something that starts, you've got something that it gets to its end, and the part that never changed, that never shifted, that's you. That's what I think. That's what I feel, that's what I've experienced. So what about community? Community comes from the word common, meaning belonging to all. So we all belong to this world. What do we share, right? What do we share in common? The word itself, literally, it comes from co, meaning together. And min, or moon, commune, to change. It means to change, to go, or to move. So we're moving together, we're changing together, we are going together, we are sharing the same world, we come from the same place and we return to it. So that oneness, that's community. So trust comes in here. It's not just the self that exists, but other people exist too, like in their wholeness, unbroken. There's a faith that goes to that as well. All right. So when we feel like distanced from our connection with ourselves, like for me, I know I dissociate sometimes, and I start to feel like I just don't understand. I don't know how else to explain it other than that. But it's not that I'm, and sometimes we go like I'm broken. Like I will literally start to think that, but we're not broken. It's not that. It's that when we feel separate from ourselves, we're just not bridging the parts of us completely. And when we feel separate from the world, it doesn't mean we don't belong either. There's literally proof. We all come from the same world. We belong. It's not that we don't. It's that the bridge isn't always obvious. That's where writing comes in. That's why I think it's holy, and it's also why I think it's terrifying. I don't know about you, but anytime I show up to the page, and I've been writing my whole life, I'm scared. I'm scared every time. Because what if I'm wrong? What if I've been tricking myself all along? What if myself, my soul, doesn't exist? What if I'm not real? What if my experiences are meaningless? What if other people aren't there? What if my connections with them are false? What if they're always just going to disappear, like a flicker in the night, right? But writing can connect us back to ourselves, and it can connect us to others. So with intention, which, remember, was one of the definitions for the word meaning, which ends up being up to us, writing bridges the disconnects and reveals the wholeness of the self, needing nothing else. And from this clear space of faith in our own wholeness, our own existence, we can write so that the world's wholeness, so that it can see its own wholeness reflected through us and have it be this virtuous cycle. I hope that makes sense. And to emphasize this a bit, I'm going to deconstruct the word solace. Solace. It means comfort in grief, to reconcile, consolation, and to rest. To reconcile. For something to meet something else. And of course, solace, with the root soul, same root with solitude, meaning whole, and the sun. And then ace, solace, ACE, actually means the same thing. It means unity, and it comes from the Greek heis, Heis, meaning one, like the card, the ace. So you've got whole, one. So solace literally means unity with unity, oneness with oneness, united by unity. In the space of solace, that's why it's solace. You're reconciled with truth. You're consoled. You can rest. You can be vulnerable. You can be present. You can laugh. You can be playful. You can express yourself. You can find and embrace meaning, even if it's just for that merciful moment, because it's not there all the time. But I do think that is what we are searching for. And if you experience it, even just for a second, you know what that's like. So I'm going to tell the story about an ink blot. I have a friend, Marcia. She's older, and her husband passed this past year. And there was someone in the room who had been hired to offer comfort during this time, but she expressed to us that what she really needed in that moment was solitude. She needed this guy to leave, but she didn't know how to tell him to leave, which is completely understandable. And she says that this fact is like an ink blot that she can wash and it will fade, but it will never go away. That she did not have this solitude with her husband in that moment, which is what she needed. As opposed to the casserole brigade that came afterwards, of people just bringing the casseroles to her house over and over, acknowledging, you are in pain, I am here. I see you. Even if they can't feel what she's feeling, they're witnessing her. They're acknowledging what she's going through. And that is so healing in itself, too. So here are some questions I would love for you to ask yourself on your own time, or to just think it through while I'm speaking. And here they are. Okay. What brings you solace and why? Who supports that solace and why? When was the last time you felt solace? How do you bring yourself solace? How does writing make you feel? What does your support system look like right now? How would you like it to look? When do you need to be alone? When do you need other people? When does your writing have to happen outside of others' eyes? And when do you need others to help you clarify your writing forward? And I thought I maybe would just share my own personal connection with community and solitude. So community for me, it's about finding safe people who respect my solitude. And I don't just mean being alone, even though that's part of it. I mean, they respect the essence of my singular self, and they don't cast that self into doubt. They don't make me question whether I exist, right? They respect my boundaries, my needs, the outline of who I am, who don't make me feel sorry for being that person. People I can respect, meaning we give one another regard. We acknowledge one another's personal power and inner worlds, even when we don't understand them. These are the people who bring me solace, who help me see my own worth in the greater scheme of things, and it gives me a sense of peace. And when I feel this way, I can trust my creativity with them. I can trust my writing with them. When it comes to solitude, for me, it's connecting to my creativity. When I can trust myself through this creative process, letting it take me wherever it wants without doubting it, without amputating or exorcising it from my body as though it's a demon. And I think this is an incredibly important part of my process. And it's not just because it's fun, but it is. But, you know, it helps me create trust with myself. And I want you to remember also that writing and editing are different actions. So it's important not to cork yourself and try to control the process too much when you're writing. Writing is expansive, it's generative. In the editing stage, you might need some input about how to translate that raw material into something that others understand, if that's what the project is for. It just depends on your intention. And yeah, so the last thing I have is an exercise that I put into a PDF that I'm going to share here with you. And you may have seen this exercise out there in the world before, but this is the way I do it, and it helped me become a writer many, many years ago, and it helps me stay writing. And so that's why I think that's why it's the first thing that I did, that I wrote to share. So I'm going to post the PDF I made. It has like encouragement at the front, and then a simple way to tune in to writing, like the generative solitude of writing. And I think next time it would be cool to actually take you through it, so maybe I'll do that. But for now, I would love your feedback on it if you decide to try it, because I might use it again for other things, including to expand our community of safe people. So yeah, and I think just as a process note, maybe the only thing I would have changed about this video is to have started it with a little bit of breathing. So maybe I'll end it with just like one deep breath. If you would join me. Just letting time slow down for this moment. And now I'm feeling so nothing but gratitude. Thank you if you've taken the time to watch this and to be here. This is really awesome. And I'll see you next time.